We're going to start with the Karate Kid. So let me go ahead and read off the synopsis to Karate Kid. So after Kung Fu prodigy Li Fong relocates to New York City, he attracts unwanted attention from a local karate champion and embarks on a journey to enter the ultimate karate competition with the help of Mr. Han and Daniel LaRusso. That synopsis is
it's missing a few things.
I don't want to say misleading, but this movie feels like it's kind of a tale of two different films.
Yeah, I mean, the movie is properly called The Karate Kid Legends, Bryan.
Yes,
and
it
the
is.
marketing around this film is all about bringing a few of those legends back onto the big screen. Jackie Chan from the 2010 The Karate Kid sequel, reboot, legacy sequel. And then, obviously, Ralph Macchio from the original The Karate Kid. And, you know, I was super pumped to see both of these legends on the big screen. Mostly, like, I was excited to see Jackie Chan back on the big screen. Anytime you can see Jackie Chan on the big screen is a good time.
Absolutely.
This movie, though, doesn't give you a lot of those two. And I'm not actually mad about it because Benjamin Wong or Wang, I'm not sure how he pronounces it, is fantastic in the film. You know, he's from An American-Born Chinese, one of my favorite comic book adaptations of recent memory. And we also get this crazy subplot with Joshua Jackson that I don't think was revealed at all in the trailers, but I had a great time with it.
You know what? That was a big surprise to me because you're right. When you hear the name Karate Kid Legends and you're looking forward to Jackie Chan and Daniel LaRusso kind of coming together, kind of bridging these two, I don't know, I don't even want to say two different worlds, but kind of two different worlds, kind of bringing them together, then that's what I think is kind of bringing people into the theater. But when you actually get in, and you said it perfectly, Ben Wang, who I think has so much charisma, really carries this movie from beginning to end. And you kind of fall in love with his character at the beginning of this film. And when he comes over to America and he moves to New York City and we get that Joshua Jackson story, I found myself really kind of falling in love with that world and those characters and loving that story and kind of taking the Karate Kid trope and those conventions that we know of the original trilogy and those movies and kind of twisting it a little bit on its head by kind of reversing the Karate Kid story when you have now the student is the teacher to an older person and teaching them ways of Kung Fu that he can use it in a boxing match. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, ways of Kung Fu, which is also interesting because it's the Karate Kid, right?
Yeah, that's true too.
You know, there's some odd things at play there that were touched upon a little bit in the 2010 film because Jackie Chan's Mr. Han is, you know, dealing with wushu, dealing with Kung Fu. But I like how this movie begins actually with a scene from The Karate Kid Part 2 where Pat Morita's Mr. Miyagi is explaining to Ralph Macchio's Daniel-san that, you know, his long ago ancestors, drunk fisherman, travels to China and basically steals Kung Fu and interprets it into karate. Now, it removes a lot of the political context that is wrapped up in that his actual historical situation. Please go watch all of Bruce Lee's movies to understand that historical context a little bit better. But I like that they're acknowledging, like, okay, to make Jackie Chan in this movie work, Ben Wang in this movie work, we actually have to deal with some real history here that was briefly touched upon in The Karate Kid Part 2. And I love bringing Ben Wang from China into the United States because his mom, like Daniel-san's mom before him, got a job, a better life. We got to chase that better life, and that's where this better life is taking us. But Ben Wang is a pretty great Kung Fu kid already.
He is.
And so now we have to find a way to make this great Kung Fu kid the Karate Kid. And, you know, it does some stretching, but I enjoyed that stretching.
Yeah, and like I was saying, this is kind of a tale of two halves. So let's talk a little bit about how this movie kind of shifts to kind of become or try to become more of a traditional Karate Kid movie, where I felt like the first half of this movie was really interesting, and I loved that take of what they were doing. Then we kind of transitioned to, I guess, the latter. And this movie is only an hour and 30 minutes. So literally, I mean, to stuff two movies, basically two movies within the hour and 30 minutes, you got basically two 45-minute kind of short films where this movie kind of follows more of that traditional kind of storyline of the Karate Kid, where we get into what's the karate tournament, the five boroughs, the something of the five boroughs,
The five boroughs,
yeah, and then we have our antagonist that's kind of similar to the antagonist that we've seen from some of the other films, and then it kind of speeds to the climax of the resolution when we shift into that second half of the film, which I find a little less interesting. But overall, I gotta say, I've still enjoyed my experience of watching it. But how was that shift for you?
Oh, it's terrible. It's a super messy movie.
Yeah.
It feels kind of all over the place. It feels very forced. The final tournament, I think, is also awkwardly edited and handled.
Yeah.
I think the threat level from the quote unquote villain of the story doesn't really land the way that William Zabka landed that character in the original Karate Kid.
Yeah.
They do this like rooftop tournament situation, and some of that really looked ugly to me. I feel like we lost a lot of the tension of watching Ben Wang work his way up to the final fight. It just sort of felt like, and now it's final fight time, and he's going to do this special move that he has not been able to do for a long time, but now he's got the confidence to do it. And we get a pretty fun training montage with Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan training Ben Wang. But it just rushes. It rushes the climax of this movie.
Yeah, it does. And I'm not the biggest fan of how they handle the back half of this movie, but like I said, that first half was such a surprise. I thought the chemistry between Ben Wang and Joshua Jackson was really excellent, and I just loved the kind of twist that they did with that trope. So for me, I gotta say, it's a B plus, but Brad, what's your rating? And let the people know how we rate the show.
Yeah, we're the B&B show, so we rate movies either B plus if we like them or a B minus if we don't like them. And my rating for this one is going to lean into the B plus category. I loved the Karate Kid as a kid. I watched all of them, including the next Karate Kid with Hilary Swank. But at the same time, I don't hold them in this revered light. They were fun films, kind of disposable films. They had good emotion to them. They captured my attention, and that's all present in the Karate Kid Legends. And so even though it's a little messy, everyone involved, I think is very charismatic and enjoyable. And I love Joshua Jackson from my Fringe days, and so it was great to see him in the boxing ring, even if his story didn't really gel with the rest of the story.
Yeah, Dawson's Creek for me. Pacey. So B plus for you?
Yeah, B plus.
B plus. Yeah. All right, so that is a B plus for both of us.
If you liked what you just saw,
then check us out on YouTube at PGC TV Online, and we'll see you at the movies.